Now, 8 people were dead, and 3 of Manson's all-American girls, Pat, Leslie, and Susan, were killers. Oddly, one family member was notably absent from both nights of murder. Charlie's right hand, Lynette Squeaky Fromm.
Some people say it's because Charlie knew that she really wasn't capable of this kind of violent mayhem, and she didn't have what it took to plunge a knife into somebody.
It's a very difficult thing to imagine doing. But I still believe that they were right because they felt right. They felt that despite the ugliness of it, it was the right thing to do.
One thing was clear. The mastermind behind the murders had made sure that Tex and the women all bloodied their hands, while he kept his own hands clean.
I did stay clear of everything.
But they say you didn't, because they were acting for you on your instructions.
No.
And under your influence.
Well, maybe influenced, and they might have thought it was my instructions, but I wasn't directing traffic, lady.
Back at Spahn Ranch, the Manson tribe waited for the Black Uprising, helter-skelter, to come down. But what came down instead was the law. On August 16th, just 1 week after the Tate murders, the Los Angeles County Sheriff raided the family's compound. But the authorities were looking for stolen dune buggies, not murderers. And they released the Manson family just 48 hours later. They were free to commit yet one more murder. This time, it happened right at home on Spahn Ranch. The sounds woke 17-year-old Barbara Hoyt from her sleep.
I heard the screams, and as he screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed, it went on forever. It was horrible, gut-wrenching screams. I've never heard like that before in my life.
Barbara recognized the screams. They belonged to a ranch hand named Shorty Shea. Fearing for her own life, Barbara made her escape from the Manson family. The identities of the Tate LaBianca killers were still unknown to the world, but that would soon change. November 1969. For 4 months, the mysterious slayings of actress Sharon Tate and 6 others had gone unsolved. What the authorities didn't know was that one of Tate's killers, 20-year-old Susan Sadie Atkins, was already sitting in a Los Angeles County jail, charged with the murder of Gary Hinman.
I noticed her only because she was happy and running around and dancing and singing, and I can remember thinking, this is really not the place for this kind of joy.
Atkins' friendship with Virginia Graham would break the case wide open. They shared a dorm in jail, and it wasn't long before Susan confided that she'd been involved in another, bigger crime, the notorious Tate LaBianca killings. Sadie had another shocking revelation. The other killers were hiding in the desert, and if they could help it, the Tate LaBianca murders wouldn't be their last. Graham felt responsible and tipped off the authorities. On her tip, the police rounded up the rest of the killers: Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, Linda Kasabian, Tex Watson, and Charles Manson. In December of 1969, they were all charged with murder. The trial of Manson and the girls, Pat, Susan, and Leslie, went forward in June 1970 without Tex Watson, who was fighting extradition from his home state of Texas. In exchange for her testimony, all of the charges were dropped against Linda Kasabian.
She indicted all of them. She said that they had gone out, that they had instructions from Manson, that they were told to wear creepy crawlies, which were their black outfits, and that they were bent on murder.
For almost a year, Manson played right into the prosecution's argument that he had controlled and directed the girls. They were as obedient in court as they had been in the victims' homes.
The entire proceedings were scripted by Charlie. Every day we'd meet, and he'd decide, well, today I want you each to stand up and hold your hands in some stupid symbols. You're going to get up and scream, the old gray mare. You're going to burn an X in your head. You know, each day was scripted.
They would jump up in court and start chanting, "The judge is just a woman, the judge is just a woman." Well, that was horrifying to the women in the courtroom. That was seen by Charlie as the biggest insult.
Throughout the trial, the giggling Manson girls seemed strangely detached. Now they say that if they seemed out of touch with reality, it's because they were still living Manson's reality, taking LSD in jail and following his every word.
He was talking about how time was going to stop, that we were all just going to walk out, that everything was just going to stop. And we believed that.
When I went to the jail after it happened, and Leslie said to me she didn't know whether to cut holes in the back of her blouse or sew little pockets for her wings. She thought she was an angel.
I even asked Pat and Susan, how am I going to hide my wings? I could feel them nubbing out.
Dancing clown upon the wall.
Just outside of the court, the rest of the family was making a bizarre display of devotion.
We're going to stay here until Charlie's out.
For almost 10 months, they kept a faithful vigil, all the while weaving a vest for their guru. Like the girls inside, they mirrored Manson's every move. And with Manson in custody, it was mainly Squeaky Fromm who handled the reporters and curious crowds.
They can't grab at it, you know. They just have to be patient and give. And it's in everybody. They said I was a spokesman. I was never a spokesman. They said I was a lieutenant. We weren't lieutenants. We didn't have orders. We didn't have badges. We weren't appointed anything. We did what we wanted to do. Each one of us took up what we felt we could carry, and we did it because we wanted to. If we did it because we thought it would make Charlie happy, we must have loved him or something like that.
On January 25th, 1971, it came as no surprise when all 4 defendants, Charlie, Leslie, Pat, and Susan, were found guilty of multiple murders. And when it was time for the jury to decide whether they would live or die, the Manson girls finally took the stand. But their goal was to save Manson's life, not their own.
After the trial started, Charlie suggested that we meaning the 3 women, try to carry the load of the case so that he could be released, you know, so that he could further carry on his works to save the world.
On March 29, 1971, 21-year-old Leslie Van Houten, 22-year-old Susan Atkins, and 23-year-old Patricia Krenwinkel became the youngest women to sit on California's death row. The jury sentenced all 3 women and their guru to die in the gas chamber at San Quentin.